Hello, friends. We are going to dive in to some of the work that you will be missing at Staff Conference 3. As opposed to having you read through a gazillion documents, just going to do a few short videos to get you oriented to what you missed. As we talked about in Vision of Excellence calls and experiences, it is really important that you connect with someone that was at the experience. Even though I'm sharing the resources and a lot of the content from the day, the real bulk and heart of what happens is in how folks experience and think about how they're making sense of their own role and place. But today is really all about diving into what our teachers and our students are going to experience this summer. There's a really great story that I like to come back to a lot when I think about goals. At the early stages of NASA, there was a time where President Kennedy went and visited the Houston area building. And he came across a custodian, and he paused and asked the custodian, you know, what do you do here at NASA? And the custodian responded without skipping a beat and with no hesitation and said, I am helping put a man on the moon. That's like why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. And I really appreciate this story because regardless of your role, our ultimate aim this summer is to have an impact for students. Not just this summer, but beyond and in other classrooms. With that in mind, and our moon or North Star really is grounded in students. A lot of different organizations or teams or schools have different approaches or philosophies about like what is the layer of learning that you really measure. And for us at Bay Area Institute, that layer that really matters most is the student layer. We also believe that by operating with the students in mind, it has a ripple effect on teacher skill. For example, we're not going to see students engaging in strong discourse and questioning and talking with one another unless we prepare and set teachers up to be able to do that. But looking at the student level allows us to think about not just teacher understanding of a skill, but actual application and impact on students. So when we say the words tools and rubrics, folks have lots of different reactions. So your reaction right now may be, oh my gosh, another tool, another rubric, how do I use it? There's so many different things. You may like think back to your own childhood and getting like a rubric circled and handed back to you. In my own institute experience, we literally got graded on a teaching is leadership rubric. And it's just really interesting the both like intellectual but also emotional reactions people have when we talk about tools or rubrics. So you probably know what this is. I'm going to pause for a second and just let you think through, what is this? When do you use it? How do you use it? What can you use it for? And how did you learn to use it? So likely you know that this is a hammer and can think of at least a few different ways that you can use it. You can use it to put a nail in, take a nail out. You could use it to build something. You could use it to break something apart. And those are just like some of the things that you can do with it, like in its original like purpose. You likely know how to use it for a few different reasons. Either because someone taught you, you saw someone use it, and you used it for yourself in different contexts, or some combination of those things. Bring this up because the best tools we can use with ease, we can apply to multiple contexts, and we can think of lots of different ways to use them. Like in a situation, I can immediately think, oh, wow, this is a time where I need a hammer as opposed to a different tool. As opposed to this tool, some of you may be like, oh, yeah, I know what this is. I don't know what this is. My dad builds houses, so I grew up around tools all the time. And this is actually a really important tool, but if I handed it to most of the folks in the room, I'm sure some folks would know what it is, but also probably a lot wouldn't. And sometimes a tool can feel like that too, like, what is this? Am I supposed to know what this is? How do I use it? Okay, I'll use it if you tell me to use it, but like, this isn't gonna make my life any easier. As context, it's a stud finder, so you can figure out where to put the nails or screws in the wall. But that doesn't matter. The purpose is that good tools are simple. We can use them with ease, and we can think of how to use them in multiple contexts. So why tools and rubrics? They make things easier and faster. They increase quality, and they align us. If I am using a hammer to build a house, it's likely going to have a higher quality than if I was just like using a rock or something else to like put something into the wall. It also like makes my job easier. The same should be true of a tool or a rubric. If I'm really oriented to how to use it and what's on it, it becomes second nature and not something that you just add on. But for tools and rubrics to really work, you've got to use it with fidelity, and everybody's got to use it. And so if just Jennifer and a few of the ILs are really oriented to the student outcomes document, it's not actually helpful. It can result actually in more harm than good, because folks can feel like they're being forced to use a tool that they don't understand or see the purpose in. It also doesn't help us align if only a subset of people are using it. And so we're going to really simplify the tools and the rubrics and the things that we use. And when I say simplify, I mean really simplify. The main tool and rubric that we will use this summer at the program level is the student outcomes document. Now, there are lists of teacher skills and specific things within session plans and support. But when we sit down with a teacher, when we analyze a classroom, when we're reflecting on the status of our cohort, this is the document that we're going to come back to again and again. As you know from your Vision of Excellence calls, our goals are really grounded at the emerging level for the summer. A few notes on the document. This tool shows the full arc of teacher development, i.e. dramatic would be like an exceptional teacher and like they're a few years into teaching, or like after a lifetime of teaching. And so it would be pretty unlikely that we would see that level of dramatic by the end of the summer. Second note, emerging is the minimum. It's the floor, not the ceiling. So of course, if we see teachers leaving the summer at solid growth, that's awesome. But really, if you think about doing these skills at an emerging level, it sets teachers up to start their school years in the fall in just a really different place. The final note is that while our primary goals are around hitting emerging in these different levels, we also want to have as few or no classrooms at the misaligned level, because that misaligned level really indicates that something is awry, or that a skill isn't understood, probably at a theoretical level. And so even within this document, there are complexities, but at its simplest form, we're going to spend a lot of time norming and thinking about what does this emerging growth level look like for me. In a minute, you are going to have a chance to explore and think about the student outcomes document for yourself. In the pre-work, or in the makeup activity, there's a box with your name where you can reflect on these questions. And one of the reasons we're really stopping and reflecting on these are because we, like I said at the beginning, have our own biases and orientations to tools and rubrics, and probably like to different rows or strands on this document. We also probably have places that like we're still growing in our practice, or places that we naturally excel in. And so understanding those things about ourselves makes us stronger facilitators. It makes us stronger coaches. It makes it easier for us to connect with teachers and share vulnerably and transparently about like, this is what this means for me. And also like, this is what it's going to mean for you. Really understanding the document helps us not use it as an evaluative measurement, but use it as a tool to recognize places where we need to grow. It also helps simplify, like, what are we working on? You'll notice that not everything that a teacher needs to do is on this document, and that's really strategic. We're really focusing on a few key things, and going back to the document helps you as the coach say, hey, what are we going to prioritize to really grow in development? So go ahead, that's the end of this first video, and reflect on these questions. Spend some time really looking at the student outcomes document. This won't be the first time you dive into it, but eager to see what you all share. As other folks share, feel free to add in comments or questions or responses so that it becomes a bit more of a dialogue than just to fill in the blank. Awesome. Thanks so much.